It's probably a really helpful and healthy habit to create in general, but especially right now when things are still so current and prevalent insofar as the whole COVID-19 pandemic and everything else going on in the world, it is totally understandable that we may be feeling a little bit more tired than our usual, even if we feel like personally things are going really well. So it's just another reminder to look at our self-care cups and looking at what actually fills us up and finding more of that balance, even if it's a little bit more than what we usually need, or even if it's a little bit more than what we're giving ourselves permission to need right now, if we are putting ourselves in the basket of, oh, it's not really impacting me all that much, everything's actually okay, everything's going really well. With this level of global uncertainty, which to some degree still feels uncertain to us as individuals, there is still more energy being put into regulating normal responses for yourself. So one of those would be like tolerance. Sometimes you might feel like your fuse is a little shorter than normal for things that you normally don't really worry about, or that normally don't really affect you, or that kind of just wash off. And then getting confused or feeling confused and frustrated by that adds to that extra thing that is going on, extra thing that your body or your brain is needing to process in addition to everything else. So when there is still a lot happening, even when things are still going pretty well, again, it is normal that we feel tired. And when we feel tired, it is extra important to take extra rest or sleep and prioritize that even more. This is something we know already. We've known for a long time. There are studies out there. There is evidence and data and science that tells us the importance of sleep. It is when our body regenerates, rejuvenates, and heals itself. It's when our brains get to process what they need to process on the subconscious level so that we don't feel like we're actually going crazy most of the time. But it also takes care of our health. So not just our mental or emotional health, our emotional health being our level of tolerance for things or how excited we can feel about things, but also our physical health. So Dr. Eve Van Kouter is a PhD. She's a professor in the Department of Medicine at the University of Chicago, who chairs the Sleep Number Scientific Advisory Board. She has stated that studies strongly suggest that insufficient sleep, poor sleep quality, or irregular day-to-day timing of sleep may adversely affect immunity. So again, not exactly new information, but really weighted given her standing in the scientific community, that when we don't allow enough time for proper sleep or winding down, when we don't allow circumstances or scenarios that create the ability to have quality sleep, or when we're very irregular with when we have sleep from day to day, we can start to feel run down. And again, we know that when we start to feel run down, our body's processes don't or have to work harder in order to keep up. So our immunity is affected, and I'm not just talking about COVID immunity, I'm just talking about just how you feel, what your body's doing, how susceptible you are to just normal colds and flus, or how you're digesting your food and how much energy you're actually able to get out of that food that you're having. Even if you're having the best diet in the world for you, for your body, if you're not taking care of yourself and your rest levels, your body's not going to be able to process and absorb as much of that food and that nourishment as it could. So then you're not getting those extra vitamins, minerals, everything that you need, which means that, again, your immunity can be affected, or your headspace, or your emotional ability to process things or to withstand smaller challenges. So if you found that over these last few months or over 2020 in general, that you are feeling more sensitive to what you would call the little things, to small changes in your schedule. I've spoken about this in previous videos, to small changes in your schedule or to things that don't go quite the way that you planned. If beforehand you were quite good with handling that and you just go and roll with it, but you're finding that now you are struggling with that, or it's feeling like a challenge, or if it's just making you feel more than what you feel is necessary or normal, this will have something to do with it. There's just a lot in the background for us that is processing. So for your well-being, for your ability to process how you communicate and how you interact with other people, that is a really big thing as well. Our patience lowers when we aren't rested and taking care of ourselves enough. So if you feel all of that, but even if you don't deprioritize the power of good rest and sleep, quality sleep, because the impact that that has on your well-being and your ability to show up for yourself, but also for others or with others in those courageous conversations that I keep talking about, or that keep coming up, or in those challenging or difficult conversations that might show up, or in finding the right things that you're trying to convey, or even understanding what it is you're trying to convey. All of that becomes harder when we are not rested as well. So definitely look at that, and definitely use this as your reminder and your permission slip if you need a permission slip. Not that you do, but that's a whole different conversation. But if you need a permission slip, or if you need that reminder, use this as a reminder. Schedule it in. There are so many things on your phone that allow you to have reminders that help you start to wind down ahead of time, so that way it's not suddenly your bedtime and then you have to find this winding down time. So have that as your priority over almost anything else, and you might start to notice either one or two things: just how much you need it once you start receiving it, or just how useful it is in terms of how you're feeling about responding or reacting to other things as well.